Okay, so here we're going to take a look at combining power series. Okay, so here, if we look here at our theorem about combining power series, so what it states here is that we have two power series with each their own common their interval of convergence. And in order for us to construct these new power series, then if we want to add them, then we're looking for a common interval on I. And if we multiply by some factor, then we just have to account for that with with the interval that results in our new power series when we manipulate the x value, right? So, for example, here, let's take a look at here. So let's say we had two series, right? We had the series a sub n x to the n, and with the interval of convergence of -1 to 1. Right, and we had another power series b sub n x to the n with interval of convergence of -2 to 2. All right, and let's say I redefine a new one, right, where you have the sum of a sub n x to the n plus b sub n x to the n. Right, so you're creating a new power series here, right? And here, and 0 to infinity, n equals 0 to infinity, n equals 0 to infinity. All right, so the new interval for convergence here, so I know that the first one goes from -1 to 1, right, and then my other one goes from -2 to 2. All right, so here are both intervals of convergence here. All right, now in order for the new power series that I constructed to converge, then it must have to have what our theorem calls the common interval. So looking at this, really what you're after is just the smallest, or I guess the largest possible interval that is converging for both of those series. So looking at that, we choose the interval from -1 to 1. All right, so that would be the interval of convergence of my new power series where I sum them up. All right, now, if I manipulate, let's say, the x, right, let's say here, a sub n x over 2 to the n. Excuse me. Okay, and I know here that my interval of convergence for a is going to be -1 to 1. Now, when I change the x over 2, what that does is that now whatever's in here, the absolute value of x over 2 has to be less than 1. Right, and then kind of simplifying this out, or we get, dropping the absolute value, we get x over 2 less than 1, bigger than -1, multiply by 2. So we have our x falls between 2 and -2. So our new interval of convergence for something like this is between -2 and 2. All right, so that's kind of how we deal with something like this, right? If we have here, when we're multiplying it by b, this falls into, where are we at here? The real number converges to b times x to the m, and then here x such that bx, so here that would be more something like this, right, where we have to change the value here, and then that corresponding new change, right, affects the interval here. All right, so that's how we combine power series and how we determine the new interval of convergence for those power series.